How you doing, family? My name is Russ. I'm picking it right up. This is the third video on my first lecture series talking about my pamphlet, which is The Anatomy of Existence and the Power of Thought and Belief. Picking right up where we left off on the last video. We talked about the macro being, and I ended up on uh, some advice about backing off on television. The reason why I suggest that is because one of the biggest problems we have, right now I'm in America. I was born in America, in the southern part of America. And because of that, I have been exposed, I was born over 65 years ago, 62 years ago, my bad, let's not get ahead of it. But back in that time, as an African American, I was exposed to uh, a lot of confusion and a lot of restrictions and things that were I was exposed to in my environment. And as creatures of environment, um, when I was born, television and certain media were restricted and limited to uh, my uh, people, for just the term. But I don't want to get into this racial stuff because that's another distraction. But it's just the fact. It's how it was. Okay? So as a result, I really wasn't exposed to that. So like a lot of other people who don't have television, my mind was not distracted by a lot of the stuff that generations after me now have been exposed to and see as normal, as this is how it is, Well, how could I want to get away from television? I have a couple of brothers and my mom, they can't even go to sleep. They go to sleep with the television on. In fact, they never ever turn the television off, ever. And I really feel bad for them, but you know what? Each one of us is on the path that we need to be on when we need to be on it. There's no such thing as good or bad. Like the macrocosmic being that we are, it just is. This is just how it is. You don't want to get into judging people and all that. Well, believe you me, let me tell you, oh, boy, do I put my family through the ringer. Let me tell you, because it's very difficult to know what I know and what you're going to learn and sit around and watch people suffer. But you have to remember, and this is another lesson you got to learn. Everybody's at a different level of development. We all are leaves on the tree of life. And each one of us may be on a different branch, or we have evolved or reincarnated a number of times. And this is the way that I try to understand why some people are on certain levels and are receptive to certain things, and some people are on other levels and not receptive. And they're receptive to other things, but they just haven't gotten to where I am yet. And what I just learned to accept is, I love my family. I'm one of the very, very luckiest human beings to be born into a family that we all love each other. We argue and fight like animals. You have no idea. But one thing we don't hit and we don't hate. We get plenty pissed off, and it feels like hate, but it's really not. It's just pissed off. And we laugh a lot with each other, and we hug each other a lot, and we tell each other we love each other a lot. Okay? Because we do. And I've learned over the years that love is not this mupui, ooh, we hug and all hope, but no. It's just, love is just being there. Love is just coming back. Love is just missing each other. Love is just caring about each other. Love is the fluid through which all progress and growth happens. But love is not a straight line. It's not perfect. There's no, the only perfect love, the only perfection about love is that it's fluid and changing and up and down and progressive and, and changing all the time. And that's one thing about us as microcosmic beings, is that when I talked about the characteristics of the macrocosmic being, the macrocosmic being, I have to go to my notes now because I'm getting a little off track here, has no mind, has no emotions, okay, it has no thoughts, and is only concerned about one thing, and that's self-perpetuation. Now the microcosmic being that we have a mind. We are the opposite of the macro. We have emotions, okay, and we have thoughts. Our mind thinks all the time. Eckhart Tolle is one of the people who I have read, and he talks about this brilliantly, and it's in my book. He said the problem with most people is that we think too much, because we relate to this flesh, this vehicle that we were born into, and we get lost in the minutia of this extremely complex, comprehensive, mega trillions of cells and billions and quadrillions of cells and operations that are going on in this thing, to the point where our connection to it, a lot of times we get lost and we start thinking we actually are this, and we are our thoughts, and we are our mind, and we're not. We're the watcher. We're that which is an expression of the macro that is having a human experience as a micro expression of the macro. So there is another immutable law that I'm going to introduce now. It's called as above, so below. As a macro, we are above, and we are the totality. Has no beginning, has no end, has no feelings, have no emotion. There is no light, there is no dark. There just is. That's what we are. There's no gender. Don't let nobody tell you God is a man, which don't make no sense anyway, because if God was a man, then why can't men have babies? Because life comes from, okay, the macro. Existence comes from the macro. It makes manifest that which is unmanifested. It decides that you shall be manifested. I don't want to get into that, because then I get into this whole gender thing, and I want to move away from all of these one is better than the other stuff, because it's all a myth. It's all nonsense. All of us have our own unique beingness and our own unique purpose, and we are perfect in that. This is the thing we got to understand. Perfection is in and of itself. You are exactly what the macro wants you to be right now in this time space continuum. So put that to bed. Put that away. You are perfect. Now, your vehicle that you were born into has what we call lessons in the form of challenges. Some challenges are more extreme than others, but the challenge is to find your relationship, your oneness to your macro self, and to seek balance. Don't be too extreme, right? Don't be too angry. Don't be too overly emotional. And be focused on perpetuating growth. That is what you are here to do. Now, so in your micro self, your micro being has abilities. Some of us have photographic memories. Some of us are clairvoyant. Some of us are telekinetic. Some of us are mind readers. They can hear people's thoughts. That's a whole different one. I don't know the name of it right now. Don't need to know everything. You just need to know what I'm talking about. The movie X-Men talks about this beautifully. Another movie that really explains this whole thing of functioning and experiencing life through this vehicle that I call the microcosmic self is the movie Matrix. It does a beautiful job of symbolically explaining the relationship of the macrocosmic being to the microcosmic existence and expression. It does a really good job of that. And again, those who have eyes shall see. Those who have ears shall hear. And I'm going to leave it at that. You know who you are. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? Next thing we got to talk about. So I think I pretty much, I'm not going to beat the dead horse, beat it to death. What we are as a macrocosmic being. Because there's not a lot to talk about. It's just so big and so massive and so endless that it's pretty simple. It just is. We just are. Again, it says, I am the macro. Just that I am. So I just am. All right. So it's not a lot to, no sense kicking that around too much. It just is. Okay. We exist because we want to exist. Okay. And we all are a part of that. Don't let nobody jive you. Don't let nobody throw in race and color and all that crap. Because everybody gets oxygen. Every entity, every cell in your body, every electron, every proton, every neutron, every element of existence itself gets oxygen on this planet. Okay, and everything in outer space gets what it gets from outer space because it's supposed to get what it gets from outer space. And it doesn't pick and choose and say, oh no, I'm not going to let that one get it because that one's white. Oh, no, I'm not going to let that one get it because that's a what do they call those things, Klingon or this or that. And existence gives everybody love. Because everybody gets what they need to get when they are born, wherever they are born, and they're supposed to exist where they're supposed to exist. Because that's how existence, God, you, universal spirit wants it to be. So let's cut the confusion and let's get into the fact that you are born exactly where you're supposed to be born, at the time you're supposed to be born, to do what your vehicle is gifted with to do. And that function is pretty much the same for everybody else. You are supposed to share what you have with everybody and everything around you to get along, to perpetuate the universal mission, evolution, survive, love, help each other, move forward, grow, do what you're supposed to do, be the best that you can be, and don't worry about the rest. And in the process, have fun, enjoy yourself, love each other. Learn to see, once you tap into this universal understanding of self, you will see self in everything. There's the freedom. There's the joy. I get chill bumps just thinking about it. And it's something, once you tap into self and you realize who you are and what you are, it's almost like a fleeting moment. If you can get your mind away from the trappings of this flesh, which is okay to deal and be micro, every now and again, peel away and be macro. And macro is something you just feel. And once you keep going back and get a little feel, come back, and then you see macro, you see self in every molecule and everything. If you see Matrix, when Neo finally got it, everywhere he looked, all he saw was digits, because he was tapped into the macro. And the macro is everywhere at the same time, without any flicker at all. You just are. And when you feel that power, that oneness, that bigness, it is the most liberating. I don't know about for you guys, but for me, I found it to be the most liberating thing in the world. And one of the things that really helped me to be liberated, and I'm going over my time, I realize that I'm not going to do more than a minute or two this time, is that you realize that there's nowhere to go. There's no need to be afraid. You don't have to worry about dying. You're not going to die. This vehicle will get old and it won't work anymore. Then you know what? Like the leaves on the tree, go get another one. That's because this is about evolution. This ain't about getting hung up on a leaf or a vehicle or an ability that you have in this vehicle. You get the next life, you do something else. No problem. Don't worry about dying. But that don't mean you're going to go out and walk in front of a bus. But I mean, but you don't worry about dying. Okay? That I'm not a mountain climber. You'll never catch me doing that Tom Cruise stuff, climbing up the flat face of a mountain. It's not my thing. But some people feel like that's what they want to do. I don't know what the purpose is. I'm not trying to. I'm micro. I'm a micro being. I'm too busy being Russell. Okay? Uh, and you get into being you. But don't worry about being better or being like somebody else. Don't try to be like nobody else. Try to be you. Because that's what you needed you to do. Right here, this life here. Just be the best that you can be right here. Okay? Don't worry about all that other nonsense. Don't matter. Not a part of the scheme right now. You are perfect. You're perfectly where you need to be, and you only thing you need to focus on is being the best that you can be of what you already are. Get into that. Get comfortable with that. Okay? I'm gonna wrap it up, and we'll see you in the next movie. One love.